The Super Bowl is coming up, and if you're at all active on social media, this is the time of year when you start to see the memes comparing Christian church attendance to football game devotion. You may have seen memes like this, or Christians, pastors, ministry leaders posting on their social media, "I wish Christians could get as excited about church as they do about the Super Bowl." Now, are most Christians in America as devoted to the gospel as the New Testament calls us to be? No. I think we all know that. I mean, the giving rate among churches is, 1%, 2%. So just regarding our material resources, we don't do a great job as a whole of supporting the kingdom of God. 2, is the devotion to sports idolatrous among many people, even in churches? Yeah, absolutely. We humans are idol-making factories. That's what we do. If we're not worshiping God, we're going to be worshiping something. And even in churches, unfortunately, you find a lot of Christians who are polytheistic. You know, they worship Jesus, they love Jesus, they'll post their Bible verse of the day on Instagram. But more important are the gods of politics, sports, entertainment, wealth, social status, sexual identity, self-expression. I mean, these are the gods that a lot of people actually worship, and then Jesus gets what's left over. So I understand the sentiment that I wish we could get as excited about church as we do about football memes are trying to point out. I get it. But honestly, I don't want church to be like a football game. Why do people get so excited at a football game? 1, it's entertainment. Let's not forget that. Sporting events are first and foremost entertainment. Church is not to be entertainment. Church services are not to compete with things like the Super Bowl or Disney World or a concert. Those things are entertainment. God's people gathering together is not meant to be entertainment. Now, can it be entertaining? Sure. Is a really good sermon a form of entertainment? Yeah, but that's not all it is. Is a really good musical performance in a church a form of entertainment? It can be, but that's not all it is. So it's not like church should be boring. It's not like church should be dull. There's a reason that the First Church of Springfield on every episode of The Simpsons that features them in church is the punchline of jokes about how boring and dull church is. Insert a little Reverend Lovejoy picture or clip here. Constancy. But let's not get it twisted. Church is not to entertain. The early Christians did not turn the Roman Empire upside down by competing with the Circus Maximus. The early Christians did not evangelize the known world by putting on good concerts, by giving entertaining speeches, by telling funny jokes. It's not that anything's wrong with any of those things, but that's not what the power of the gospel resides in. But at a sporting event, that is why people go. It's entertaining. Number 2, at a sporting event, the reason people get so excited is not because they just are overflowing with love for their team. Now, some may be a little unbalanced in that regard. They may go all out. But at the end of the day, those players can be changed, the coaches can be changed, even the logos can be changed. The people are going because they have found something they identify with, but more importantly, they're going because they want to see if their team is going to win. See, that's the thing about a sporting event that is so unlike church. At a sporting event, you do not know the outcome. You genuinely don't know how it's going to end. At church, the outcome is not in doubt. The battle has already been fought and it's been won. Now we're waiting for the ultimate consummation of that victory, of course. That's what we look forward to with the second coming, but make no mistake about it. On the cross, Jesus beat the devil. The game was a lock from that point on. So there's not that degree of excitement at churches because we're not in doubt of what the outcome is going to be in this game. Number 3, Super Bowl happens once a year. I mean, even football games happen once a week, but not year round, just in a small window of time in the fall and pushing on into the new year. That's not what the Christian life is. That's certainly not what church is. Church is 24/7. Ministry is always happening. Football games are not always happening. It is coming together for a specific moment to witness that moment together with other people who are interested and want to see the outcome. There's no comparison to church in any of that. See, discipleship, following Jesus, isn't about how many people we can get together and how much we can pump them up and make them cheer and make them shout. It's not what it's about. You never see that in the New Testament until you get to Revelation and you see the final arrival of God's kingdom. But in the day-to-day life, I mean, even in Jesus's life, look at how many times Jesus went out of his way to avoid the hype and the crowds and the excitement that people were wanting so desperately to instill his ministry with. Go through, read about, scholars call it the divine secret or the messianic secret. See how secretive Jesus was at times. See how just in those moments when most church leaders today would cast their nets wide and try to gather as many people to have kingdom impact, Jesus does the opposite. He gets away. He shuns the crowds. It's kind of baffling from a movement growth perspective. It's not what you would expect if you're trying to start something big. And that's the thing about the gospel. It's not what we expect. So it doesn't matter how many people we cram in a stadium to get yelling and singing and clapping about Jesus. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that, but there's certainly no imperative that that happen. The stuff that's really exciting, at least to me, the stuff that I think makes a much deeper kingdom impact than how many people we can get together in a moment to feel the holy goosebumps, is how Christians are living their daily lives. How many refugees or immigrants are Christians reaching out to and showing the love of Jesus in a new land, in a new home, surrounded by a foreign religion many times? How are Christians doing when it comes to being the tangible, life-giving community of God to those people who've never experienced it? How much integrity are Christians living with day to day in their workplace? When people look to so-and-so who's a churchgoer in the office, do they see a reflection of Jesus? Or do they just see somebody who gets real excited about their church, but whose personal behavior is far from Christ-like? Discipleship is tested in the mundane. Character is formed in the mundane. Yet, it'd be great if you're a pastor to see people coming with their faces painted in big foam fingers that have a cross or pointing to heaven or that are in the shape of a fish or any other outward mark of spiritual fervor. But spiritual fervor can only take people so far. Spiritual fervor can only take a church so far. I mean, if you've listened to the recent podcast series that Christianity Today has put out on the rise and the fall of Mars Hill, I know a few churches that had as much fervor as Mars Hill had in the early 2000s. We know how that ended. What happens after the big event is over? Pastors, don't base your sense of church worth on things like how excited people are for Sunday services. There's a million ways to make Sunday services really over the top and awe-inspiring and cool. Megachurches have been doing that for decades now. It's not that hard if you have the right resources and a big enough budget. And while there's nothing wrong with a cool, over-the-top, amazing Sunday worship service, don't hear me saying that there's something wrong with that. Many of those services can and do bring people closer to Jesus. And there is a vital role that they have to play in the kingdom of God. But pastors, church leaders, social media Christians, never confuse outward, exuberant excitement over an event with commitment in following Jesus in the trenches, day by day, when things are amazing and when things are terrible, when things are exciting or when life is just boring, when big, amazing kingdom things are happening or when you're just clocking in at work. Because through the eyes of heaven, those things are equally spiritual. Possibly the latter is of more importance than the former. So remember this next time you see one of those "I wish people got this excited about church" memes. Get excited about church if that's your thing, but there's no imperative in the New Testament for having exciting worship gatherings. The imperative in the New Testament is being and making disciples. That's something that I can get excited about. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time back here at Disciple Dojo.